before Bob showed up, believe it or not, I used to be the champion of running up budget surpluses. I just didn't have Jay to promote it quite so well and make sure that I got all the credit on earth for it. But Bob's frugality sometimes consumes the image of Bob Klitsky to Bob's discredit. Because Bob has been far more in the 2 terms that he served in this legislature than a frugal senator. In the end, if you really think about it, frugality is not that hard. It's just a willingness not to spend. What Bob has contributed to this legislature is much more than that. I can't tell you the number of times when there's been an issue that has come up in the last 2 terms that, notwithstanding the fact that I'm going on my 7th term in the legislature, I turn around and I look at Bob and I say, Bob, what do you think about this provision? In fact, I can't tell you the number of times that I've had legal questions about things that we've been deliberating on, and I just look to Bob to give me some guidance on that thing. In fact, I'm wondering why we hired legislative counsel this last term. No offense to legislative counsel, because we've had a freebie in Bob Klitsky when it comes to that. Bob's contribution in legislature is more than what I've described even at that. Bob has stretched the boundaries of thought. Change is incremental, folks. Took me a while to learn that too, not just you, Eddie. Change occurs incrementally. Sometimes it occurs in big increments, and it's a little bit, jarring and radical. 21 to 15 was one of those jarring, radical changes, perhaps. But generally speaking, when you look at it over time, change is incremental. And the mission of a change agent is not always to slam through every single change, but to move the middle of the debate a little bit this way or a little bit that way in the direction of the change that they're looking for. So that when that great ameliorating and amalgamating process we call democracy finds the center of an issue, the center is somewhere else. And the center is closer to where you want to be. That, my friends, is how you remain a collaborative body working in cooperation and still affect change. It's not by screaming at each other and demanding that everything be the way we at that moment perceive it ought to be. It's by moving the debate. And you know what, guys? That's the real contribution of Bob Klitsky in the last 2 years, is that he has moved the debate on a whole host of issues. He's moved the center of the debate, usually in a direction that he'd like to go. Bob, when he first came in, his senior years notwithstanding, like all freshman senators, might have been a little bit more eager to slam that baby home right off the bat. But I think in the 2 terms that he's been here, he's honed a lesson he already knew, that as a change agent, he's there to move things in a direction and displace the center of the debate in a particular direction. And Bob's done that, guys. And if you don't think that's true, think about all the things that we take for granted now that were unthinkable a few years back. Think about the positions that we used to think were so radical that are now on the floor for debate. Bob's contributed to that. And to the extent that he will not be here to help do that in the 29th Guam Legislature, that's not just our loss, it's the loss of all the people of Guam. Now, I expect, knowing Bob Klitsky as well as I do, that after he has taken his safari around the world or wherever it is, whatever it is he's going to do, he's probably going to pop up in some media outlet as a pundit where his scintillating personal style, Bob, go on the radio if you're going to do this. Don't go on TV again. And I'm not talking about, you are a very good-looking man. That's not what I'm talking about. But your voice, I think, just carries better than You're just so good looking, I think, that it just blinds the viewer on TV. So when you become the TV pundit that I know you're going to be, Bob, my good friend, go on the radio, deal with it in some other medium, and continue to help move the debate. It won't be the same as you being here and doing it, but at least maybe you can. And can I ask you one more favor too, Bob? When you do become a pundit, remember the lesson you learned about your job is to move the center of the debate, and don't just decide that your job now is to make outrageous demands that you yourself know cannot be accomplished in time frames that are being described. But understand that from that position as a pundit, you can still do what you did here and move the center of the debate. In conclusion, and I know that my good friend from Malolo is really hoping that this is in conclusion because she has a long drive back. I know. In conclusion, I've heard a lot of people say tonight that Senator Calvo and others, that the experience that they've had in the 28th Guam Legislature has been one of the best, and not the best experience they've had as senators. I want you to know that that's true of me as well. I started in the 23rd Guam Legislature with Senator Wumpet and Vice Speaker Brown. I guess we're it, huh? We're all that's left of the class of 94. No, we came in 94, in the 23rd Guam Legislature. We started in the 23rd Guam Legislature, and as Senator Wumpet has said on more than one occasion, it was a rude awakening for us all because it was a very contentious, very, very, very hot dog and chili flying legislature. It's famous for that. It's famous for the food fights and things like that. And it was just a bad scene in a lot of ways. I do agree with her in that assessment. And in the legislatures I have served, there have been high points and low points, and I hope she'll agree with me on this, and I hope everyone will too. The high points have been those times when we've worked together and worked through issues, and even when we haven't agreed on issues, we've always treated each other with dignity and respect, as well we should, because every single one of us is elected by the people of Guam, and the respect we show each other is not just respect we show each other, it's respect we show to all the voters of Guam who've put each and every one of us here. The times that have been low points is when the emotions and the personalities and the egos get to the point where they become more important than what we're doing. And people get very mad, and people get very bitter, and people get very... Those have been low points. One of the things I've really appreciated about the 20th Guam Legislature is that never happened. Not once in 2 years. And when I say I'm going to miss Frank, I mean it. When I say I'm going to miss BJ, I mean it. When I say I'm going to miss Joanne, I mean it. When I say I'm going to miss Larry and Mike and Bob, I mean it, because I honestly feel that in the last 2 years, and in some cases long before that, you folks have become my friends. And I mean that in a very personal way. Not because we've done each other favors, not because, we've scratched your back and you scratched my back, or we've traded votes. I mean, you got to admit, we do that fairly rarely, don't we? That whole business about, I'll vote for this, you vote for that. That hardly ever happens, if it happens at all. In fact, I'm not even sure it's ever happened in the 20th Guam Legislature. We haven't always, in fact, tonight is a good example. I mean, you saw votes here that split across party lines in our last session. We demonstrated that. I'd like to think we've become friends because we've worked together. In the true sense of that word, work together. And when you work with people, and when you're able to accomplish things with people, friendship is an inevitability. And so to my friends who won't be in the 29th Guam Legislature, Godspeed. I know I'll see you all again in many other capacities. To those folks that are coming in on the 29th Guam Legislature, let's work together and develop those friendships based upon mutual work. Guys, I'm sorry to see you go. Thank you very much for all the good things you've done in the 28th Guam Legislature. Thank you for the cooperative spirit that's been established, because it couldn't have been done without you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Mike Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A lot of you know that I don't speak much, and if there's an opposite to you, Vice Speaker, I guess that's me. And one that speaks very little, but certainly not because I don't have a lot to say, but I only like to say when I have more to contribute to. But when I had been up away from here earlier, and I had heard that we were going through this, I certainly wanted to come here, despite the lateness of the hour, because I wanted to convey to you, and not the public, because I'll quite honestly, I wish we would turn that TV off, because this is not about what they should hear, but about what we should hear as colleagues in this legislature. Because I'm not speaking to them, quite frankly. I'm speaking to every single one of you here tonight. And that's what I want to talk about. And the good senator right next to me from Pt2, just a few minutes ago, in fact, said, "So, are you getting used to the title Lieutenant Governor yet?" I mean, I haven't even gotten used to the title Senator yet. And quite frankly, I haven't even got used to the title Colonel yet and Doctor yet. And for me, it's always been an issue of serving the public. It's always been an issue of being a public servant. And you know what? Just like every single one of you here, and I want you to know, I am not talking to that audience out there. I am talking to you. Because to come into this session hall, to come into this foxhole, is that? I mean, why would you submit yourself to this? Look what time it is at night tonight. And I'll be honest with you, I'm a soldier. And I'm on Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Desert Storm. And there are experiences that are the most meaningful, the most memorable, the most dramatic in our lives, and that is those that we feel and we experience in a foxhole. And I will always remember those experiences that we, including you, Lou, who is not here tonight, have experienced in this foxhole. I am proud to have served with all of you. The people of Guam have been well served by every single one of you. And they're not going to ever see all the details and the minutiae that we see and we experience and we fight and we go over on a daily basis that we do. But I know there's one thing that I know that every single one of you have done. And I am so astonished. I am so honored by the fact that you have all thought about them, your constituents. And they may not feel that, because every single one of them feels differently because they want something else. But every single one of you have always felt that for them. And I'll tell you, I am awed. I sit here in the midst of all of you. I think it's appropriate, the fact that I'm sitting actually in the midst of all of you, in the middle of all of it, sort of the guy in between the different parties, the different aisles. But I sit here sometimes in awe at all you do. It's easy to learn to be a doctor. It's easy to learn to be a soldier. But there's something different about being a public servant, a leader, a politician. That's not easy. And that's one of the reasons why, quite frankly, I wanted to leave all of this to you. Honestly. And you know what? The good speaker is correct. It was a draft. It wasn't to the last. And Speaker, I will admit right now that we were 15 minutes late in getting my application into the Guam Election Commission. Okay. That it was that. I didn't want to do that because I didn't feel that this is the place that I belonged. And honestly, having served with all of you, with the skills that you have, and with I sit here in awe of somebody as young as Rory, who even us, as we sit in the Republican caucus, sit there and goes, guys, guess what? Rory just outsmarted us. That's an amazing thing, Rory. Honestly. And I sit here, and right in front of me are some special things on my desk. They just happen to show up tonight. I mean, no, none of this was arranged. It just happens to show up. And I sit here because here I've kept in my desk for the longest of times is something from our good Buddhist friend, my relative, Nan Myo Ho Renge Kyo. I have no idea what it means, except that somehow it gave me comfort and confidence in the little bit that I've done here. And you know what? I'm going to take this with me. And she's given me this is not a Republican elephant, but it's an elephant. It's a Buddhist elephant with its trunk up, which means good, happiness. And here, good speaker, is my cell phone. So I know I'm moving to a different office. And Larry told me the other day, he says, man, Doc, I've never seen anybody who didn't want something so much get it. I saw it as a way out. I did. And and so, and honestly, guys, I'm not having a conversation with the public because I've never had that conversation with them. I'm having a conversation with you. I saw this as the way out because what I saw was I wanted to get as far away from this place here because I didn't belong here. You guys are way too talented, have way too much ability, have the beautiness of your speech and your ability to communicate that I don't. And I wanted an exit. I wanted out. I wanted out of here because you guys do this way too good, way too well, and I didn't want it gone. And so I figured that the only way that I could do that and maintain some decency amongst the public, some honor amongst the public, was to go out on top. And the way out was when Governor Felix Camacho gave me that opportunity, and well, here I am. So what I'm saying is that this cell phone then now becomes a ways by which this body and the executive branch can communicate. Please come to my office. Don't use that because I never answer it anyways. But it becomes what then, if I could somehow be the conduit by which we can do that. Because guys, this is not about us, and I said that even when I said this is when we won with Camacho Cruz. It's not about Camacho Cruz. It's about the people, and these are branches of government by which our forefathers founded, so that we could do the best for our people ultimately. And I want to be that conduit by which we can get this done. There's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake. Barbecue every Friday. On my desk is somebody very dear to me. And so I always kept it in there. It's Jen. She doesn't know. I'm not talking to her. And then, I don't know why, but Tom, why do I have a session floor pass? Exactly. So what it means is that on Monday, I get a chance to wear this and officially come on the floor Monday. But I'll tell you, I'll keep this here to my heart, but I am so proud to be able to walk away with these two things. Because we sit in here as representatives of our people and do not take that lightly in any way. Do not. Because in here lies the hopes, the fears, the joys, the future of our people. We determine the laws by which our people will live. We determine and appropriate the funds that our people live. All I do on the other side of this phone is spend it and apply it. So don't ever take what you have to do here lightly. I am so honored to have been able to be a part of this, even for the short term. And I'm going to say this again, but I am absolutely amazed at all of your abilities, every single one of you. And Speaker, even you. And even though you drafted me, Speaker, you have a special place that you're going to have to lead this group, the 29th and whoever else. And I know you're going to do that. And please call on me if there's any way that you can to do that. And I am just one, but another public servant for the people. And I am, as I leave here tonight, because I'm going to leave because it's almost 1 o'clock. I want to thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to sit here, right here in the midst of every single one of you, and be quiet, because I honestly was looking around in awe at all that you have done, and to have just been a small part of all of that. I have been. And I want to thank you and certainly the people of Guam for giving me the opportunity to do that. And I want to most importantly thank God for giving me that. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Senator Lujan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. He speaks. He speaks. Can I have some of what you were drinking earlier? Just kidding. Anyway, no, it's a private joke between my vice chair and I. Mr. Speaker, it's been indeed a great honor and a pleasure to serve with each and every one of 15 and now 14 colleagues. But as we go down the line again, there are a few colleagues that are leaving us. But this reminds me, Mr. Speaker, of myself too, being a former professional athlete, and as we watched some of the athletes that I grew up and mentored under, actually, and as they made their last appearances on stage, we said, why would you be leaving? You're on top of your game. Why would you be leaving? You're retiring. You're on top of your game. And no one could ever understand that. They were just starting to peak. But Mr. Speaker, as they moved on to other things, a few years later, they came back even better. They came back even better. So, each and every one of us has a calling, and a calling to do other things. You'd be greatly missed in this body, but there are other things, and there are other callings that each and every one of our colleagues that are leaving here will be doing again, and will be doing more, and to be able to serve more. But as I said earlier, some of them will come back even greater. Former Vice Speaker Huggin, I remember campaigning in 1996 when I first started to run as well. And a great politician, and continues to be, but more than that, a great person. And as Speaker Forbes said, you can never get him into, you can never block him in. And if you try to, directly, he'll laugh and say, see you later. A great man, be greatly missed. But there are bigger things. And Senator Uggan, his name still will be out there. And there'll be bigger things that Senator Uggan will be. We'll see him in a bigger stage as well. Senator Cruz, Senator B.J. Cruz. I've known Senator B.J. Cruz for for years. How many years now? 20? My twin. A great man. A very smart man. Quite an athlete as well. And, if he, I don't know when he's going to get on stage. But, we've had some heated debates here on the floor, and disagreements. A lot of times we agree. But let me tell you, again, a real, genuine gentleman would be greatly missed. But as Senator Ogden will have brighter things in the near future. Senator B.J. Cruz will have brighter things as well. So then, they just have a different calling for bigger things. I will miss you in this hall. My twin. Vice Speaker Brown. Whoo. I'm glad I have my twin brother, Senator Klitsky, because when we first got in the 27th Guam Legislature, we used to look at each other and we said, Pt2, you're getting it now. I don't know who got the most of Vice Speaker Brown, whether Senator Klitsky and I. It's probably pretty tight. We're glad when Senator Dr. Mike Cruz joined us, because he took some of the heat off us as well. Again, Vice Speaker Brown, I would miss her greatly. And there are times we get into heated disagreements. But we're really good friends. And I tell you, because we're actually both single, a lot of times we go to a lot of different places together. Yeah, we got something going. But you know what? Even after great disagreements, I would miss her tremendously. And I say to the incoming Republican colleagues in the 29th Guam Legislature, man, you're not going to have the initiation. You know how FD has their initiation? I don't think they have it anymore. But I've had the initiation in the 27th Guam Legislature in serving with Vice Speaker Brown. And it's a good initiation because it prepared you. It prepared you for debate. It prepared you to think. It prepared you to think critically. It should be greatly missed in this hall, in the halls of the legislature. But as with Senator Ogden, Senator B.J. Cruz, Vice Speaker Brown as well has other callings, and she will continue to serve, and her name will continue to be out there because they just have another calling for another place. And I won't be surprised if brighter things will come her way again, and we see her in other places, shining even more. My neighbor here, my desk mate, my roommate, Senator Casper Bauer. Let me say, I chose to sit here in the 27th Guam Legislature because I knew that this desk actually here was occupied by former Senator Joe Atta, a mentor of mine. And I chose to sit here because I also knew that a great and wise gentleman, Senator Casper Bauer. And being a freshman, you hear all the horrors that might go on the floor. So I always resorted to the senator, my good senator, in advice, a lot of advice. And he was always too eager to stand up to take the words out of my own mouth, as Speaker Forbes would say. He was always too eager to stand up and debate. There was once I remembered that we had to wait for a couple colleagues to come back to vote. And it was up to Senator Casper Bauer to, we're waiting for the vote, can you stretch out a little bit? And I was awed. I said, how could he debate? How could you talk that long? How could you? Geez, where do all these words come from? And I was at awe because he had this bill and he was reading it word for word and adding words in between. And that was a thick bill. I think he read the whole budget bill, if I wasn't mistaken. Senator Kasperbauer, I'm going to miss you. You're going to be greatly missed in these halls. But again, and I know he'd also made a previous announcement earlier that there are bigger and shinier things for Senator Kasperbauer in the very near future. I wish him all the luck. I'm sure he will be very successful. Senator Dr. Mike Cruz, my colleague, my vice chair, and I, his vice chair in this committee. And let me just say that I know that Speaker Forbes had said he was the one that drafted him. And absolutely true, absolutely true. But I've got to say as well that I think a couple of weeks into the term of the 28th Guam Legislature, if I'm not mistaken, Doc or Lieutenant Governor-elect, we sat in his office and we're just talking. I said, Mike, you're going to be somebody's running mate. Remember that, Mike? You're going to be somebody's running mate. Remember that? He looked at me. Are you crazy? I don't even want to be here. Let alone be somebody's running mate. Well, Doc, I was right. For someone who didn't want to be here and didn't want to be there, he's there. A great man, a humble man, a good man. He's going to be missed. I'm going to miss him. Because if he were to still be here, we would continue to vice chair each other's committees. But let me just say that he's called upon, has been called upon in years prior to serve his country. Oh, he's called upon now to serve the people of Guam in a bigger way. Doc Mike, my buddy, good luck, Godspeed. I'm going to miss you. Can you give me your cell phone number? You're not answering my phone calls, man. Last but not least, Mr. Speaker, my twin brother, Bob Klitsky. The only thing I can say is that, it's just between all the couches and the curtains that have to be slaughtered to clothe Senator Klitsky, he came in today, I said, did we pass a resolution to take that out of somebody's couch in somebody's senatorial office? I love this man. I mean, let me just say with my twin brother, an honest man, a genuine man, a man of his word, an honorable man. We've disagreed in a lot of different things. We probably disagreed more than we did disagree. But you know what? We disagreed in the very beginning. There's one thing Bob and I have an understanding. And it was a disagreement. And as soon as we disagreed, I go back there and get some information from him and ask him the best way I can disagree with him. And he would tell me. Bob, how can I refute what you said? And he would tell me. A great man. He's going to be missed. But as Speaker Forbes had said that, he's probably going on making it big in Fox. That's more of the conservative as opposed to CNN. You can rivaling, what's the name? The O'Reilly factor, maybe. Bob, we're going to miss you. You have changed the course of the legislature. You have put some things that would never have been thought of into the halls, the debates, the discussions. and you took that leap. You did that. But that's you. That's a Bob Klitsky. That's a Marine. And I admire Bob very much because of that. And he's a man of his word, an honorable man. And a very proud Marine at that. And let me just say, whatever resolutions we have that has anything to do with the federal government and military, he's always got to put the Marines in there. He's always got, whatever it is, he finds language to make sure that the Marines are well served and well recognized. And that's why we now have, again, Marine Corps Drive. So, Bob, I'm going to miss you as well. And, Joanne's not going to be here, so I cannot say, but it's well. But, again, thank you, everyone. And, of course, Senator Lou, who's no longer with us, she's with the Bank of Guam now. I want to thank her as well for the years that we've worked together. That was very colorful debate as well, and very colorful. But again, coming in as a freshman in the 27th Guam Legislature, I tell you, learning from folks like yourselves here, it gave me a great insight, and it's prepared me. And I want to thank each and every one of you. And with that, to each and every one of you, a belated Merry Christmas and the happiest of New Year to each and every one of you. May you and your family, all your loved ones, be safe and sound. Make sure that, don't drink and drive. Make sure you buckle up. Drink a Pepsi. You do that. God bless each and every one of you and your families. And as we move on to 2007, may all your days be a lot brighter. And what is that, Senator Wampat, that you had me chanting in Okinawa? Yeah, yum yum something. Yeah. Anyway, it worked. It worked. And so when I said yum yum at night and everything like that, Senator B.J. Cruz come. You calling for me? I'm just kidding. No, it was all fun. It was great traveling with Senator Wampat, Vice Speaker Brown, Senator B.J. Cruz, Speaker Mpinko. We had a great time. We had a great working session. It's great to be able to travel with intelligent, very smart people. I was there to learn, and I learned from them. With that, Mr. Speaker, thank you. Happy New Year to you, Mr. Speaker, and to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Speaker Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Hopefully at this late hour, maybe I can talk a little slower because I know we're all tired, but it's only appropriate at this time of parting that certainly I be able to thank all of you and let you know how much I've appreciated you over the years. You know, I never thought back in 1994 when I ran for the Guam Legislature that I would be here for 12 years. You know, it's one of those moments if you were to look in a crystal ball and someone were to show you your future and say, well, 12 years from now, Joanne, you're still going to be in the Guam Legislature. I would have ran the other way because I would never think that I would have stayed this long doing this kind of work, and sometimes I wondered why I did. But a lot of it also had to do with the people that I had the opportunity to work with, and certainly the confidence and support of the people of Guam to allow me to serve, and the privilege that I've had these so many years to serve. I mean, sometimes when I look at Senator Respicio, I'm reminded, that I started being a senator when I was 28 years old. And I never thought I'd be here all these years during the prime time of my life. And I don't doubt Senator Respicio will be in government and politics for many years. And I'm sure down the road we're going to compare some notes of what it's like to start on so early in your career. But I want to let all my colleagues know individually what I've learned and what I've appreciated from each of you. And I wanted to start out with my good friend, Speaker Tony Mpinko. I think in the end, who you are is a foundation of the people around you and the people that have taken the time to invest in your growth process. And certainly Tony Pinko is one of those people. You know, I could never walk across the room or go into a social event with any degree of comfort, probably without the training of Tony Pinko. You know, you think running for public office may be an easy thing, but when you get there and what it takes to get here takes you out of what is normally your patterns, because you have to go out and meet people and talk to people and interact with people you've never met before, and hopefully leave a positive impression that they'll like, that they'll vote for you. And I have to say that if it wasn't for Speaker Pinko and the quality he has of giving, and I know many of us, including some people that have gone on to very high office, have benefited from that generosity and that caring, because he's one of those people that are not insecure. He's not afraid to see other people grow and succeed. And if he can teach you what he knows, he's willing to do that. I think that's the sign of a very secure, a very honest man and a very good man. So I want to let you know, Speaker, I've appreciated following in your footsteps. I know I don't do anything as well as you do, but I want you to know how much I've appreciated your guidance over the years and your calmness, because it's really made such a tremendous difference. I mean, you're a lifelong friend, and you and Emily, I know as long as we're alive, we're all going to be together. To my dear friend Bob Klitsky, you know, I sit there and I watch him in hearings and I go, thank God I'll never be on the other end of this legislative podium debating Bob Klitsky or being interrogated or interviewed by Bob Klitsky in a public hearing. Because I thought, man, I'm tough, and Bob's tougher. And you know, Bob, you've brought to light sometimes, because you know, in politics, we all want to sound good, we all want to look good, we all want to make people feel good. And there's a time and place for that, but there's also a time and place we need to cut through all that and look at the real substance of an issue. And you've always done that so well. And I think sometimes people are absolutely shocked by how straightforward you are. But it forces everyone to start thinking the real substantive sides of issues and what exactly are we doing? What does the legal language mean? What are the implications of that? And in the end, is this what we want to do? I think that's incredible. You're incredibly talented. And as Speaker Forbes mentioned earlier, we spend so much time relying on your guidance. And if it's okay with Bob, then it's like okay with all of us, because, you know, we've really appreciated the guidance you've given and the fact that we have confidence in what you say, because you know what you're doing. And I want to let you know I've appreciated these 2 terms, even though you and I go a little further back when you were the legal counsel for the Guam Police Department, and I was that employee up at the governor's office who was assigned to the Legislative Review Committee, and I regularly interacted with all the department and agencies, and certainly you were my key contact at the Guam Police Department, and here we are all these years later working together. So it's been a pleasure working with you, Bob. My good friend Judy Wampat. It's been a pleasure working with you. I mean, many years ago, of course, when I worked with your late husband, Melvin Borja, at Guam EPA, I never had any idea all these years later that we would be colleagues in the Guam Legislature, and even beyond that, what's become very good friends. You know, Judy Wampat and Lulian Guerrero made me do things this term that I would never have done in my life. You know, we went from doing a skit for a fundraiser to do a little karaoke skit to Judy getting us dressed in feather boas and gowns and velvet gloves and, you know, doing our hair and wearing artificial lashes and becoming the Supremes. I hear our act was pretty good. I mean, we even have a DVD. I'm amazed. I mean, you've brought out different qualities in me, maybe a more joyful side that I really didn't spend an awful lot of time thinking I had. I mean, you have me practicing ballroom dancing. I'm just amazed. You know, we always comment about Judy Wampat that she's the smallest of us, and yet she tells us what to do, and we listen to her. And we do. And I appreciate, Judy, your friendship, and I appreciate your incredible strength as a woman and a woman leader in this community. And I know you'll continue to do well because you're just at the best time of your life. And I've just watched you blossom, and I wish you all the best, my friend, and I know we'll never be far away from each other. And certainly to you, Rory, I'll tell you, it's been an interesting 2 terms. You know, you're an interesting little guy. You got the sweetest face. Everybody thinks, like, oh, God, Rory's so handsome and so nice and so soft-spoken, and isn't he just the sweetest thing? And underneath all that, you're a sharp little guy. I mean, you got a lot of things figured out very early on in your career, and I don't doubt you would continue to do well. And I have to tell you, in spite of our debates and our disagreements, I've really enjoyed working with you. I've learned and grown, and I hope you, in turn, have. Because I'm going to actually, you're one of those people I'm going to be sitting back to watch your growth and your success in the years ahead, because there's no doubt those opportunities are there for you. And I wish you all the best as well in your future. I really enjoyed working with you. To Adolf Palacios. You know one thing I've liked about you, Adolf? Your practicality. You speak for the common person out there, and I have to tell you, that's a really wonderful thing. Those of us that think we can articulate so well and we think we're so intellectual and we got all the answers, you know, in the end, it's sometimes the practical views that you go, yeah, that makes all the sense in the world. And you don't do it with an awful lot of words, but you're just balanced and you just look at it and go, okay, what's the right thing to do? And if this is the right thing, how do we do it? And I've appreciated working with you. I mean, you've been a very active member of our Parks Committee. I see your genuine desire to want to see how you can improve and contribute to the island. And please don't ever feel that your contribution is not appreciated, because I'll tell you, staying grounded is probably something that has the most value. You know, some of us get too high on ourselves, and we're out in that balloon and we're flying around, and sometimes being close to the ground and close to what people are really thinking and really feeling, it really makes a big difference to have your voice here in the Guam Legislature. I hope you have continued success and continue to represent the people, because I think you've done a wonderful, wonderful job in the 2 years that you've been in. To my colleague, Mike Cruz, you know, he has all those titles, doctor and soldier and senator and now lieutenant governor. I have to tell you, Dr. Michael Cruz, no doubt your credentials are exceptional. There's no doubt. You look at Mike Cruz's resume and you go, this is a star candidate. But you know, I often wondered, why would someone who is as successful as Michael is as a surgeon and as a doctor, and the major contribution he makes to the community with his medical talent, why would he run for office? And certainly earlier he was telling us he's not sure. I mean, he didn't ask for all this. But you know, deep down in the times I've interacted with Dr. Cruz, I've always gauged from him his tremendous passion and love for Guam, and the things he sees that need to be improved and bettered on the island. And he's willing to put himself on the line to see what he can do to make things better. He doesn't have to, doesn't need to. I think he would live and continue to live very well as a surgeon. But the fact that he's willing to step out of that really makes us all probably need to reflect that if somebody like him can do that, what more can each of us contribute to the community? And I really think that he's done a wonderful job in the short time he's been in the legislature, and I look forward to seeing what he can do in the administration. I think the fact that he's offered to keep the lines of communication open between the legislature and the administration really is going to make a big and positive difference. To my good colleague Larry Casabar, with whom I've spent the 10 years here in this session hall, Dr. Lawrence, I always call Larry Lawrence. I've always just thought that's such a wonderful name, Lawrence. You're the one Lawrence I know. And he often goes, why do you call me Lawrence? And I just always thought, because that seems so appropriate to you. You're well named by your family. You know, you've always given us that guidance, and I've always appreciated your input. And every time we've had our casual conversations, it's never been difficult to talk to each other. In spite of, certainly you've had quite an impressive career in your years at the university. And now the work that you've done on the school board, and here you are now, the 10 years you've served the people of Guam, have been really impressive. And more so, I've enjoyed the opportunity to work with you. I've learned from you, Larry, and I've grown from you. And I look forward to continuing our friendship even in the years ahead when we are no longer here in the Guam Legislature. I've really appreciated your friendship and your guidance. To my other Primu here, Jesse Anderson Lujan. You know, I appreciate, Jesse, your dedication, your determination, your persistence. You're the kind of guy that doesn't give up the first, second, or third time around. And you know, it's never the people that impress me that have things that are almost God-given talents. I'm not impressed by people who are born with certain qualities and they're automatically successful because they're born that way. I really am impressed by people that don't have all that and they succeed in spite of it. And I have to tell you, you're one of those people. You got a lot of hurdles, and you jump them, and you keep aspiring to do better, and you really take things to a different level. And believe it or not, that is something I always find most impressive in anybody. And you've demonstrated that. You've had a lot of obstacles, and in spite of them, you just hang in there. And that's what builds a person. And even if we fall, even if we make mistakes, we get up and we try harder, we do better. That's what you're going to be remembered for. You know, when we had the last election, and my two staff, Joy and Carl, were at the second floor. My office was at the GCIC building. I have to tell you, when everybody's at the party, when everything's wonderful, that's the easy thing. But when the party's not happening, it's the people that are there for you that you look back and go, wow. That's when you know what your real relationships are. And if you had called my office during that time, you'd be very surprised who would have answered the phone. I was surprised on who answered the phone. Imagine me calling my office and hearing Senator Brown's office, how may I help you? And that voice on the other end of the line was Jesse Anderson Lujan. And I appreciate that, Jesse, I really do. Continued success to you. Frank Uggan, I spent the first 6 years with Frank Uggan not talking to him. And if he was here, we'd crack up laughing because it's true. I spent 6 years in this hall without so much as a hello, goodbye, take care. Never called Frank on the phone, never talked to him. And we've made up for that in the last 4, and I actually found he's a really great guy. I really enjoyed working with Frank. I probably have the best sense of humor, and probably he makes me laugh more on this floor than anyone else, because I just, Frank came from the Gutierrez administration. I didn't talk to Frank. And I don't doubt that Frank Uggan will continue to be part of the public landscape on Guam. I don't doubt in his youth he's going to still come back and serve the public. And I admire, even though, and I'm going to add this on with Senator BJ, whether you support a candidate or not who runs for higher office, you got to admire their dedication and their ability to do that, because that is so hard. And all of us who have run for office, you don't realize how hard it is till you do it. And then once you succeed, it's continuously doing it and staying in. It's pretty hard. People can criticize us and call us all kinds of things and think we're unaware of what's going on in the community. But man, this is probably the toughest job I will ever have, and probably the toughest job many of us here will ever have. And even with Senator BJ, when I first met him as a judge, I was always amazed how well we got along the times we'd meet each other. And I never knew back then when he was a judge that we would have the opportunity to work as colleagues. And it's been a wonderful experience. I'm going to miss you being just a couple feet away from me. Just coming to session and interacting with you and talking with you about the issues, and every now and then asking for your advice or your direction on legislation that we've had before us has really been a real comfort. And I've enjoyed getting to know you more during this term, BJ. And I hope we are able to continue our friendship. To my good Primu, Eddie Calvo. As Eddie said, we are related, and as his grandmother and my grandfather were cousins, and as your father Paul and my mother Rose are cousins, and when they see each other, they're Primu and Prima. And here we are, the next generation down, and we're Primu and Prima. And I've appreciated the time in the, what is now 6 years, we've had to work together. We've not always agreed, but I'll tell you the debate has always been fun. I've always admired your good nature, your incredible sense of humor. You've made some very challenging moments in the legislature enjoyable, just by virtue of your presence and your contribution. I've always thought you've got such a great sense of humor. And I don't doubt, my good Primo, your future is going to be very bright. I've admired the fact you got 6 kids. I mean, you haven't caught up with Tony and Pinko yet. But you at such a young age to be a father of 6, and your wonderful wife, who I went to Notre Dame with, I'll tell you, she's a tough lady. Yeah, she's tough. You've survived, so I think you with Christine, you'll be okay. I know you have a very challenging job as the chairman of the Finance Committee, but you know what? In spite of the difficulty, the work you have to do, and the very hardworking staff that you have in your office, you always do it, and you keep things afloat, and you keep people optimistic in spite of the challenges. And even though we're going through some tough times, your leadership and your sense of we're going to make it through this is a tremendous comfort, and I think a tremendous comfort for our people. So to my primo Eddie Calvo, you got my support, and I wish you all the best, not just today, but in your future. To my good colleague Ray Tenorio there, the speaker, current speaker up there. You know, I'll tell you, there was Frank Uggan, and then boy, out of the blue, there came Ray Tenorio. The two of you are at a level of political campaigning that the rest of us just haven't arrived at. And I've always admired that about you. I thought, man, that guy's got drive. Drive like I've never seen. Drive that I myself don't have. And I think that's really something. You gotta pat yourself on the back, and I don't think you do that enough. I think sometimes you think you gotta keep trying harder, and sometimes you forget how far you've come. And you've come a long way. And that's something you gotta always feel good about, Ray. Have that confidence that, because those of us that look at you, we're nowhere in your league. You know, you've got a drive and determination that really motivates you. And I look at that and I go, wow, that's really something. And I know you've got a bright future too. And I wish you all the best, my good friend. I mean, we're the closest in age to each other. There was a period of time we were classmates at Barragata Junior High. And here we are all these years later, working as colleagues, and your wife, Naoko, who I graduated with and was classmates with at Notre Dame. You know, it's interesting how life turns out and how our paths all cross. And it's been a pleasure working with you. I wish you continued success. To the good speaker, I don't know if he's around, but, you know, I just wanted to let him know the reason why I have tremendous capacity to speak without breathing is because I don't smoke. I'm a non-smoker. That's why I have tremendous lung capacity. You know, and I've tried very hard over the last almost 18 years now to try to get him to quit, but I haven't succeeded. I've tried to work on Speaker Mpinko. So, Senator Judy, that's your assignment in the upcoming legislature. You got to work on these guys to get them to quit smoking so they can be around many, many more years. But to my good colleague, Speaker Mark Forbes, with whom I have worked with the longest. And I'll tell you, when you have two very tough, very determined people, very opinionated people, you know, we have our moments. Boy, do we have our moments. But I have to tell the speaker, and I hope he's listening, you know, because I very seldom ever compliment him. I don't know why it's so difficult to do that. Maybe it's, you know, because he knows that, you know, I'm articulate, I'm smart. Yeah, please tell me that. But, you know, Speaker Forbes, who I've worked with the longest, I mean, this is probably going to be a big change for me because for the first time in 18 years, I will not be working with him. But I have to tell you, you know, the speaker, I've learned a lot from him. You know, there are times in my life he's actually been my mentor. You're probably going to go, I don't see the comparison, and sometimes I don't either. But I hope I've emulated the better qualities because I've learned a lot from him. And in a lot of ways, he's been a very, very good teacher. And I'll tell you, if there's anyone who I've ever needed political advice, he's always the first person I'd call. Despite the fact at times he irritates you, you know. He talks too much. But there's no doubt, I mean, where the rubber meets the road, if I ever had an issue of concern, he'd be the first person I'd call up. And the advice that he would give me, I'd take to heart. Because in spite of everything, he's pretty darn good at what he does. And I've always seen him as the best political strategist. I have not met anyone on Guam quite of his caliber. And I know I never tell him this, so don't tell him, okay? I think that would be too much. He'd be floating up there. But, you know, that's really something. And I know that everyone else, Republican or Democrat, calls on him because of that. And, yeah, he has his challenges, but, you know, he's pretty good at what he does. And I wish him all the best. I mean, I think the speaker has done well. I think there are areas we've disagreed on, but, you know, we all disagree on things. But I think he's got a lot of wonderful ideas of what he wants to do, how he wants to see Guam. And certainly the time he's been here as my colleague the last 12 years, he's also changed the political dynamics and direction of what is now known as the Guam Legislature. We have a very different dynamic of how we operate. And I think the standard to which we as members of the legislature are held is far higher because of the time that he has served and the changes. You know, when you think back, I mean, Reducing the legislature from 21 to 15 was a major change. Creating an elected attorney general, an elected public auditor. I mean, those are all things that are radical changes to government, and now that's become the standard. And I think certainly the Speaker in the time that he remains in Guam Legislature will continue to change the dynamics, and hopefully for the betterment of our people. So I wish the Speaker all the best. I don't wish you all political success, because I think you will have that. I wish you health, and I wish you happiness, because I think in the end that's probably the most important thing. I do want to thank a few other people before I wrap up. I want to thank my staff, who I know are still in the office and who are very tired right now, but they're still here. And, I've had the easy job. I just get to tell them what to do, and they get the hard job of doing it. They execute it. They make it happen. And to Carl and Joy, they're the ones that sat there and counted 36,000 ballots. They gave up their evenings, their weekends, their holidays. That's loyalty I could never pay for. And I want you to know how appreciative I am. Because for my office, when someone calls the office of Senator Brown, it isn't just me. It's each of you that work every day to make me look good and make me do my job. I'll tell you, next week I'm going to miss that morning phone call telling me what my schedule is and where I have to go and what I have to do and who I have to see and where I have to be. Because you guys have kept me in order, and I really appreciate that. I know I don't tell you every day because we're so busy doing what we need to do, but I appreciate the fact that you've been with me all these years and the level of dedication and support that you've provided. And also to Jenny. Don't forget Jenny. I don't forget Jenny. Certainly to Tara and Tanya and Rufo, who've worked with me this term. I just want to let you know I've appreciated your contribution because you make me do the work that I do, and you're the ones that make me look good. To my mom and dad, I don't know if they're up right now, but because my dad, I'm probably, if he were to look into my future, I think the last thing he would have wanted me to be is a politician. It's not on his list. But he was very supportive, I have to tell you, in spite of that. And when I decided to run, he goes, "Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure do you know what you're getting into?" I said, "No, but it's really what I want to do, Dad." Okay. And every year since then, I've gotten his support. I've gotten his very generous checks for my campaign. Been one of my biggest investors in my campaign. And my mom, who I'll tell you is my number one supporter. I couldn't have asked for more. And I'll tell you, she's been the absolute best. Like I said, no matter what success we have in life, it's really not about us. It's about the people around us that help us and build and make us who we are. And my mom's just the absolute best, and I want to thank her publicly for her support and her investment in me. To the people of Guam for your support. Like I said, I never would have thought I would be here this long. I thought if I got elected to my first term, if I even made it to my third, I would be so lucky. And to have survived as long as I have, even though last election was a little interesting, it's been quite an honor and a privilege and a pleasure. And I want to thank you for your support of me. The one thing I've learned in this job the most is humility. I was raised as an only child, so the world revolved around me. When I got into elected office, that changed. And I realized there was so much that I needed to do to make life better on Guam. And hopefully, in the short time, I hope I've contributed something to our people, and I hope I've contributed to the betterment of our island, particularly with regards to environmental issues, which I'm sure I will continue to pursue even as a member of the public and out in the community. So to the people of Guam, thank you very much. I could not have asked for a better opportunity, and I hope that I've served you well in the time that I've been here. So my colleagues, as I wrap up my comments, I know it's pretty late in the evening or the early morning in what is my last time to speak on the floor of the Guam Legislature. Thank you very much. I wish you, all the people of Guam, all the best in the new year for 2007. I wish you all health and happiness. And to my colleagues, thank you so much for your friendship, your support, your encouragement, sometimes even your criticism. It's made me a better person. Again, Mr. Speaker, all my best to all of you, and thank you very much for the opportunity to serve you.
You're welcome. Senator Klitzky? Oh, I'm sorry. Senator Kaspar recognized before you, so would you just allow Senator Kaspar first?
Sijus Masi, Mr. Speaker. You know, when we were going through this little sharing, as we approached the end of my second term, at the end of the 25th Guam Legislature, I was taking notes, which I've long lost, taking notes as to what others who were leaving the legislature had to say, and thinking that the third term would be my last term, so I was going to have my notes all prepared to say what I'd like to say tonight. Well, that was the third term, then the fourth term, and then now the fifth term. And so I've been trying to recall what I had in mind then. And as I think about it, I know I had decided I wanted to, first of all, thank my good wife and mentor, the former Senator Carmen Paris Torres Artero Casper Bauer, who served in the 15th and 16th Guam Legislature with Speaker Umpinko. Speaker Umpinko began before her term. He began in the 13th. And he's still here as I conclude my 10 years here. And I wish him only the best, and Emily and his entire family as he continues in his political work in working for our people. I've appreciated working as your Vice Speaker for 2 terms, Speaker Umpinko, and how convenient it was for you from the South to offer me the opportunity to meet the duties of the Speaker in the North while you did it in the South, and that was something I appreciated the opportunity. I also appreciated the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, when you were ill and I had the opportunity to serve as acting Speaker when we were deliberating on the Pt2 plan, tongue-in-cheek. That was quite an experience, and I do recall a couple of my other freshman colleagues at the time, Senator John Salas and Senator Ed Cruz, who seemed to get quite a kick out of the debate on the floor about how many chickens could be allowed within your house yard or whatever it was. But those were some good days. But I also, in addition to thanking Carmen, I want to thank our 5 children, grown children, Kevin, Karen, Brian, Stephen, Teresa, and their families for helping me out. As we all know, as Senator Vice Speaker Brown mentioned, it's the family that really helps you with your campaign, that's behind you, that encourages you, keeps you going. So thank you, family, my Kanyaos, my in-laws, and all the others. I also want to make note at the beginning, I want to thank my staff, office staff, for the last 10 years. Most have been with me 10 years. We've kept the staff small, worked hard, and I appreciate all you've done to help make me look good, to help me be able to do more for the people while I've served in the legislature. Ed, Pete, Mona, for being there every morning, bright and early, taking those constituent calls on the answering machine. Robert, Sahara, and I wish you all well, whether you're working with other senators in the future. Sahara, as you go on to graduate school and become a good lawyer, come back to Guam, help us out. I also want to thank the people of Guam, for our good people, for allowing me to serve you, the people of Guam, for the last 10 years in the legislature, and before that for 10 years on the Territorial Board of Education, elected a couple times to those positions. Thank you, and I really appreciate that. I don't want to forget the staff here in the legislature. Some of you have served before and during the time that Senator Carmen was here. You're still serving today, and you're going to be serving in the 29th, I'm sure, and even beyond that. It hasn't mattered. contrary to what some people might think, even though the political leadership in the legislature has changed around the island, and although you aren't in classified positions, each term the bodies recognize your expertise and skill, and you continue to work for us and the people of Guam. You know, I can't help but remember, as I'm sure we all do, our first freshman term in the legislature. And the good former Vice Speaker Frank Ogden and I were a member of the freshman class 10 years ago. There were 6 of us. Senator Ogden, Vice Speaker Ogden, myself, Senator Frank Camacho from Inalahan, Senator Willie Flores from Telefofo, Senator John Salas, Senator Dr. Eddie Cruz, I think that's 6 with myself. So Senator Frank and I are the last of the freshman class to serve here. And during those 10 years, Senator Frank and I have developed a very special bond, perhaps because we came into the legislature at the same time. And I say to you, Vice Speaker Ogden, best wishes for a very successful future. I always reminded him that some 40 years ago, the first public speaking engagement I had was down in Molesso when his late father, Frank Ogden, was the Director of Agriculture and had asked me to speak at some 4-H banquet, I think it was in Molesso. Being as green as I was then, let alone now, I couldn't quite figure out what was going on. This took place in late October, and it happened to be an election year, which I didn't get the connection, but by the time I had finished speaking, there were about 15 senatorial and mayoral candidates and on the platform ready to hand out trophies to all these young 4-H children. And so I had my first experience with Guam politics, I guess, knowing that those opportunities presented a chance to meet the public. And of course, the uniform, for those of you who might remember some 40 years ago, for Government of Guam employees was a white short sleeve shirt, a dark narrow necktie, and dark trousers. That was pretty much what we wore working for the Government of Guam. So thank you, Carmen. Thank you, the family. Thank you, my staff. Thank you, the legislative staff here. Thank you, the people of Guam. I also like to mention several other of the senators who served in the past that come to mind. Former Senator Tom Atta, who had an office next to me. And I wasn't as fortunate then as some of the new senators coming in the 29th legislature will be. No one offered me a penny from their budgets. No one offered me a piece of furniture. And so we had a little office, I think, next to you, Senator Wampet, over in the Atta complex over there. And Senator Atta loaned me part of his budget to purchase the office equipment for my office, which as I recall, I paid back over the course of the term. And it was a good location. I was right in the middle of Senator Wampet, Senator Flores, Senator Tom Atta, myself, and perhaps another senator. And I guess we forgot about what party had elected us, and we would share information back and forth, and the staff would work very well together. And that's what I think we really all have talked about tonight is the, contrary to what some people who may be watching us tonight might think, we do and can work together in the legislature and have certainly demonstrated it. Senator Wampet mentioned the other day to me that how well we've been able to work together, and we have almost unanimous votes on the bills most of the time, except for tonight, I guess. And that's a good sign. You know, when we came in at the 24th, we came in following the chili and hot dog and ice cream episodes that took place here on the 23rd, and I think some of us campaigned on it. And we had agreed, Mr. Speaker, to, at least some of us on this side of the aisle, to wear the blue blazer necktie and shirt. So we did that on the first day when I came in 10 years ago to the legislature, and that's why you see me with it here tonight. Necktie, long sleeve shirt and all. Even though if you really know me, you know that when I'm out home or down at Aruno, it's without a shirt at all. So this is not my comfortable dress. But I wanted to make a point that this is the way we came in to try to be statesmen, not that others weren't in the past, but certainly to try to focus more on our work here. Senator B.J. Cruz, I really wanted to point out that in addition to what others have mentioned tonight, and the fact that through my wife's family we're really relatives through the Cruz side, but I really respected and appreciated your practice of the Chamorro culture when others weren't even watching. Your demonstration of respect for me as an older person or older member of the family, so to speak, and for all your other qualities that I've known, I really wanted to point that out in addition to what others have. For a good Vice Speaker, Joanne Brown, as she mentioned, we've had some private luncheon conversations together about our roles in the legislature and how many more terms we might serve and how we always haven't agreed on everything but yet have managed to stay friends and continue to work together. And of course, like many of you, I watched Joanne, if you will, as a high school student at Notre Dame, holding offices there and already being public in her speaking ability in the Youth Congress and so on. So certainly no surprise to see her coming here to the legislature and rising to the position of Vice Speaker. And I wish you, Senator Brown, nothing but the best in the years ahead, and to your dad and mom. To my good friend Eddie Calvo and your vice chair this term, I remember the days when you were playing with the Tamuning Eagles and our sons were with the Island Rams, and I think I was president of the Rams. Those were the good days, and I guess I didn't mention Senator Brown. I believe you're the age of my youngest daughter, so it's been great being here, keeping the mind young and active. Senator Calvo, I've appreciated working with you and the support you've allowed me to the support you've given to the agencies under the purview of the Committee on Education, whether it be the university, community college, KGTF, the public library system, and the Guam public school system, and helping to keep those agencies as a priority. I appreciate that. And good luck to you, whether it be here or whatever other position you might seek in the future. To my good friend Ray Tenorio, it's been good to be your partner this term, and I understand that a couple of my staff will be working for you, and I'm sure that they will continue to be as good a staff for you as they've been for me. Keep up the good work. In my first term, as you know, I scored rather high with the votes coming in behind Senator Tom Atta, but I never had any thought that anybody could receive as many votes as you've received, or Senator Calvo, in an election, whether it be a gubernatorial election year or an off year. Of course, to my good godson, the Speaker, Mark Forbes, thank you for being able to detect that dry humor of mine and whatever other good things you mentioned. I agree with you, and I've appreciated working with you. I've known you, of course, quite a bit longer than here in the legislature, and could tell many other stories that I won't tell about tonight. To my good partner here, Senator Jesse, I've appreciated the opportunity to work next to you for the last 2 terms, and wish you the best in the years ahead. And as you mentioned, you're not always you speak your mind, and for whatever happens, I respect you for that, and I wish you the best of luck. Senator Palacios, You know, I don't know if we have similar styles or not, but I've appreciated the time we've had since you've moved over here to the legislature, and we've dropped in on each other and talked about legislation and lots of other stuff, and we didn't worry about whether we were from different parties here, because I sometimes think that you ran with the wrong party, but that's all right. I've told Senator Respicia the same thing, and we know his relatives, the Riveras and all. But best wishes to you, and good luck in your terms. Senator Judy, Wampat, when I was elected chair of the Committee on Education 10 years ago in the 24th Guam Legislature, when there were 21 of us instead of 15, I guess I didn't know better. I went to Judy and asked her to serve on the Committee on Education. She was the first person I asked to serve, and I was told that I was supposed to ask the Republicans, and then if they had room to put some Democrats on. But I asked her first, and I'll have to admit, over the last couple of terms that we've been here together, I attempted to have you as my vice speaker when I've chaired the Committee on Education, but I wasn't able to convince everybody to do that. Maybe the times are changing, and there'll be a difference on that. And I wish you the very best. I've really appreciated the opportunity working with you, not only while you were a principal and I was chairman of the Board of Education, but on in the legislature, and I look forward to continue working with you on education issues over the years ahead. Mike Cruz isn't here. I, of course, can only wish him the best of luck. And I've appreciated watching Lieutenant Governor-elect Mike Cruz during the campaign, even though he was very brief here. Parsimony seems to be the best word to describe Senator Cruz. But watching him on the campaign trail up in Machano one evening, I said, is this the same Mike Cruz that we've seen here in the legislature? He went on even longer than he did tonight, and with more emphasis. And so I'm sure he'll be a very fine lieutenant governor, and he'll be a very excellent bridge working between the executive branch and here at the legislature. And Senator Calvo, if you by chance chair the Committee on Finance again, I'm sure you'll find that very helpful. My good friend Senator Bob Klitsky, we've known each other for quite a while, either as members of the running club, whether it's been marathons or the Ironman runs that we've both done in earlier years, whether it was when you were a student at the University of Guam working on your master's while I was the Dean of Education. We've shared a lot of times, or when I was chairman of the Board of Education and you were the Director of Education. And I think we've always respected each other, and if I was in a leadership position, I certainly tried to be sure that we got out of your way as the Director of Education, let you do your job and the way I think it should be done. And others have spoken of your excellent background of as a senator here, and of course your previous experience when Senator Carmen served in the legislature. You were part of the legal team that advised the senators back in those years, and that's been very valuable to you. I hope I haven't missed anyone, because each and every one of you has been very important to me here, not only this term, but some of the other senators in the past. I guess if I had one bit of advice for those coming into the 29th Guam Legislature, and for those of you continuing in the 29th Guam Legislature, don't ever forget to listen carefully to our people. They are why we are here. And if it wouldn't be for them, we wouldn't be here. We shouldn't be here, and we're here only to try to improve their quality of life. And if you ever reflect and see yourself starting to believe that because you're an elected official that you're better than they are, then it's time to move on. And I think we've seen this sometimes, perhaps here, but certainly elsewhere, where after so many years an elected official starts to act because they believe they are better than others, and that's not the case. We are just like any of our other family and friends and relatives and the other grassroots people of the island, and that's why we're here. They're our bosses. We work for them. We hope we do the best job we can for them. Sometimes the way we do it is not as easily understood, but I'm convinced that our hearts have been in the right place and are in the right place, and it's no easy job that you're going to have in the 29th Guam Legislature, and certainly not until the economy continues to improve and totally turns around. I really look forward to a very productive 29th Guam Legislature, Mr. Speaker, and all of you, my colleagues, and a very harmonious working relationship with the executive branch so that we can move forward on resolving the issues, those that Senator B.J. Cruz has, that you, Senator Calvo, have regarding the budget. And if we have to go back, if you have to go back and revisit it next term, early on, if you have to do it, please do it. If things continue to get better, then, whatever works out. But please keep education top priority. Sijus Masi, Mr. Speaker. Sijus Masi, everyone. Maramat Salamat Po. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Kliski?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I won't be able to talk very long because I'm expecting an important call on my cell phone. But listening to my twin brother, Senator Jesse Anderson Lujan, who happens to be out of the room, but when he comes back in, take a good look at him. The resemblance between us is uncanny. I think only our mothers, may they rest in peace, could tell us. There he is. Could tell us apart. And when I was listening to my twin brother talk, it occurred to me, I wonder what it's going to be like when I'm gone. Who will miss me? Who will be glad that I'm gone? What will be the effect of my not being here? And I start out with my twin brother here, and I guess he'll be kind of glad because we won't have all these cases of mistaken identity. But there's also a downside, and that is that some of these, actually another upside is that he won't get blamed for some of the outrageous things that I do around here. But on the other hand, he won't be able to blame anything on me either by saying, no, that wasn't me, that was Bob. You just got us mixed up. Now, when I'm gone, of course, that means that Mark is the tallest guy in the legislature. But he really wouldn't have had to wait until I left to become the tallest guy, because Joanne told me that if he didn't smoke, he'd be taller than me. With respect to my friend, the lady senator from Malolo here, once I'm gone, that means that she's got the public school system all to herself. And with respect to Rory, I'm sorry, the senator from, yeah. Well, I had a hard enough time just getting him from Dadido to Chalanpago, and I don't think he ever appreciated that. I always thought he was from Dadido. But Mark said that during the time that he was talking, the speaker said that I've moved the center of the debate. I'm just keep trying to move the center of the debate back to Chalanpago, I guess. That's my problem with Rory. Adolfo, I know for sure you'll miss me because I'm the only guy in the legislature that gets up in time for 7:30 a.m. meetings. And, of course, if I'm not here, you're going to be awfully lonely in the public hearings. And Senator Eddie Calvo, I got a feeling that you're really going to miss me because you won't miss me as much as you miss those really neat provisions that you keep getting from me to put in the miscellaneous parts of the budget. And Senator Ray Tenorio, I guess my departure is, in a sense, a promotion from you because, well, you'll finally get to be the senior senator from Jigo. So there it is. I'm sorry. I got to stop. Thank you.
Our last and final speaker, Senator B.J. Cruz.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I recognize my position in this legislature as the freshman minority senator, and I decided I should speak last because of knowing my position in here. But I first wanted to thank the Speaker, and I'm glad he came back into the room, because he has made these 2 years in the legislature very enjoyable, because I appreciated the fact that soon after winning, the Speaker came to my office and asked if there was anything that I wanted or thought that should be done. And we discussed the fact that there needed to be some collegiality between the minority and the majority. And he asked me for a suggestion, and my suggestion was that at least give us the decency of a hearing on our bills and within a timely fashion. And I want to thank him personally for taking that suggestion, and I want to thank those of you in the majority for accepting that into the standing rules, and as much as possible trying to comply with that rule and giving us in the minority an opportunity to have our bills at least heard, and also very much for passing as many of our bills as you have in the last legislature. So even if I don't go down each one of you personally to thank each one of you, I want to at least mention that I really appreciate the collegiality that we've had over this last 2 years, and I think that stemmed from your willingness to come forward, Mr. Speaker, to try to figure out a way that we could work together and try to respect each other's positions and the various bills that we've all had. I want to apologize to any of you that I may have offended by any of my comments. I didn't mean to insult anybody, but I just, as you said, Mr. Speaker, I can be impatient. And I think it's because, as the Vice Speaker mentioned, though I am not an only child, I grew up believing that the world rotated around me. And as I was explaining to the Vice Speaker during the break, my mother only just says that she has a son and doesn't acknowledge my sisters. And my sisters introduced me as this is our brother, our parents' only child. And so I've had a very difficult time when I was working as Governor Berdallio's legal counsel. A number of people tried to get me to run for the legislature, and I kept telling them that I didn't see a reason to run for the legislature because it took 11 of them to pass a bill at the time. It took me to convince the governor not to do it, and it took 14 of them to override it. And that may be the reason why I lost the 78, the 80, and the 82 election. And so I'd like to thank the people of Guam for finally recognizing that I could contribute a little bit, and after 3 losses, electing me to serve with all of you. And it's been an honor to serve with all of you. I have learned a lot, because having grown up as a spoiled little brat and going to the bench and being by myself and making a decision, but I always liked being by myself because I could make a decision and it was my decision. Even when I played tennis, I didn't do well in doubles because I didn't like to have to share the stage, and I didn't like to have to share the responsibility of losing a point or having some point lost because of the other person. It's been very difficult going from being the king of my chamber to, even when I got elevated to the Supreme Court, it was very depressing to have to try to work with 2 other people to try to come to a consensus on what the opinion of the court ought to be. And so you can understand my trauma and my impatience in trying to deal with 14 of you. It was more than my little selfish little self could accept. But all of you have been very patient with me. Unfortunately, Speaker Mpinko's not here, and I wanted to thank him for his encouragement. He didn't draft me, so I don't want you guys to blame him for it. Though we were in the War Reparations Commission, though I kept telling him that I didn't think that I was electable, he and Arlene and Rose just convinced me that there was a possibility that I could get elected in spite of my position on the commission, which I thought for sure was political suicide. But I wanted to thank him for the encouragement and the fact that he has always been a very good friend. And from the senior senator, again, all of you, thank you very much for all of your support. And I want to acknowledge my very good friend, Rory. As young as he is, I think I have learned more about budgeting from Roy than I have from anybody else. I mean, when I was in the judiciary, we never got to see the budget, even when we became the Chief Justice. The budget was prepared for us, and we very rarely were able to see it. And I want to thank Roy for enlightening me on the budget process and the provisions that are in it, and how to be able to read those numbers. And so you can blame him for my being so meticulous about wanting to learn numbers. But I want to thank all of you for all of your support in these last 2 years. It's been really seriously, a learning experience, and it's embarrassing to admit that it took me until I was 55 to finally mature into learning how to work and play with other people as opposed to just myself. And so I want to thank all of you for that. And I know that you have, and I don't envy what you have to face in the next legislature with the financial condition that it is. But if there's anything that I can do, please, my number's very easy to remember. Just give me a call, and I'd be more than willing to come down and assist and talk to you about some of those issues. To my next door neighbor, I really should acknowledge and recognize my next door neighbor, the Lieutenant Governor-elect. I was hoping that it was going to be the other Senator Cruz from Munga Street that was going to go to Adelut, but as we saw tonight, he's a sandbagger. Though he was very quiet, tonight was probably his most eloquence on the floor, and I didn't realize until Senator Casabrower spoke that on the campaign trail that he was an excellent campaigner and an excellent speaker, and we saw that tonight. And I wish him well, and I don't envy the position that he has. I keep telling some people I'm almost glad that we didn't win, because of the fact that the financial condition is going to be very difficult to try to deal with it, and you all have some very difficult decisions to make in the next few months. And not just the chairman, all of you. It's going to be in spite of the. And so, again, thank you all so much for all of your support. And Senator Wampat, I will try to remember that chance, and I won't try to destroy it right now. And I can't say it, but I'll do it privately. But I want to thank all of you for helping me grow and finally grow up. And hopefully when I grow up, I can be something like all of you. And thank you very much. And to the people of Guam for the confidence that you showed in finally electing me on my fourth try. Thank you very much for the honor of being able to serve you. I hope I did you well, and I did not betray your confidence and trust. And if there's anything that I can do in the future, I would more than willing to be able to come forward and continue to assist the people of Guam and all of you in this legislature. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We've concluded our brief extension of remarks, and I'm so fortunate that it was 5 minutes per member. We'll take a 30-second recess. At 2:02 a.m. I call that we adjourn, subject to the call of the speaker.
The motion to adjourn subject to the call of the speaker. Any objection? Without objection. So ordered. Legislature is adjourned.